Hello there! Welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel today. I'm working on an art journal page, so get comfy, let's get crafty. This is the August 2023 Mission Inspiration Facebook group prompt card, and I'm not sure if I hit any of the words for inspiration except maybe teal. So let's figure out what's going on here. So here is my recipe card. I'll print it out. And the first step is to add a frame within your page. So I have a piece of, this is actually acrylic paper, acrylic paint paper that I bought it on clearance for like $2.50 about a zillion years ago. And I'm using in my stash. And I've taken a pencil and I've kind of freehand drawn a wonky shaped frame around the page. And I'm going to use my Pitt Big Brush pen to go over that frame. Again, I did it with pencil first in case I went too narrow or didn't like the shape that turned out. But I'm going over it with that big brush pen. There we go. Pitt pens are India ink. That means once they are dry, they are permanent. There's a little bit of lack of dryness on my part in one section because I was impatient. And it had been so long since I was in my craft room, I just wanted to play. So I've taken this Pitt pen and I'm filling in all of the border around the edge of the page up into that kind of wonky organic shape. And I'm just filling that in. I have not been in my craft room since the middle of July. We went on vacation. I pre-shot a whole bunch of footage, and when I went to edit them, there were 2 videos that I created that my camera wigged out, and so I had no footage. And then we got home and I was tired because, you know, family trips are tiring. Anyways, back to the art journal page. I have colored it all in, and I did use my heat tool to heat set that. And the second step is to glue tissue or napkin fragments. So I have this teal colored napkin that is polka dots and stripes. I'm going to separate it by the plies. I only want the top ply. I'm going to pull those apart, and I'm just going to use the polka dot sections of this napkin. It kind of goes better with my focal image I put on there later, I felt like. So anyway, once I got them all separated, which, let's be honest, it took a minute and a half to do that because it's humid here, and it seems like things have kind of stuck together a little bit more. But anyway, once I had the plies separated, I picked up my water brush. This is a paint brush that has water in the barrel, and I just wet down the seams, and it pulls apart perfectly. And it also creates a less than pristine edge, like a decal edge. And I was going for not perfect edges today. So I did trim down the 2 edges on each of those squares that were still straight, just to kind of give that, again, less than perfect edge. And it's like cutting tissue paper with a water brush is my favorite trick. Now I need to cut these 2 squares into smaller pieces. I was not trying to make them equal-ish. That's kind of how it turned out, but whatever. And I am going to add these to my page with liquid medium. This is a matte liquid medium so that nothing is shiny. And I'm going to apply that to the part of my art journal page that is inside that frame. So my initial plan was to just adhere these pieces down inside the frame and then use that water brush cutting technique to take off the extra. But, well, that didn't work so well. We'll get to that part in a minute. So I decided to not worry about if it went outside the frame, and I just got to the edge as best as I could. Sorry about my squeaky office chair. It's like, I don't know, 7 or 8-ish years old, and I think I need to get a new one. I think I think it's kind of on the broken side. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Once I got the tissue paper all the way down inside that frame as best I could, and this bottom corner kind of was, I don't know, it shouldn't have been that hard. I think I made it harder on myself than it needed to be. But anyway, I did not add a substantial amount of liquid medium over the top. But when I realized I was not going to be able to get those edges off with the water brush cutting technique, I just went around the edges with a little bit more of that medium, and then I heat set it really good, really good, because if this is not dry, it will gum up the nib of your pen. So once I knew it was dry, not just dry to the touch, but dry enough that the paper was starting to curl, I went back around the edge of my frame with that Pitt pen. So now I have my art journal page all ready for step 3, which is to add paint with a baby wipe. So I have these paints that I bought on Amazon a gazillion years ago, and I've pulled out varying shades of bluish green, which is, kind of sort of technically teal. One is a green, one is a bluish green, one is kind of a combination, and they all have mica in them. And you can see that I've had them forever because that green one had totally separated, and I had to shake that up a little bit harder. This is how I added some more teal into my page. I am not fabulous with putting paint on a page with a baby wipe. I don't know what to do with it. I know I'm overthinking it. I'm way overthinking it. So I have this baby wipe that is not dripping wet, but it's not dry either. And my thought was I would just cover up or push back those polka dots to make them look not white, but I wanted them to still be visible. So I started with one corner, and this is when I realized that some of that Pitt pen was not quite dry, and I don't know, y'all. This is not a technique that I have mastered, and you can see there in the middle, I picked up a little bit of that Pitt pen, the India ink, and it kind of smeared into the center. Not super worried about it. I did get those polka dots to push back and look more like a suggestion. Step 4 is to add stencil with ink. And I have this is a Dilutions stencil, and it is all kinds of bubbles or circles. This was perfect. I totally forgot that it was in my stash. But I'm going to use an ink blending foam and some archival cobalt ink to put some bubbles through this stencil. And I have I know where my focal image is going to be, and I want these bubbles to be outside of that. So I'm going just down the right-hand side of the page, kind of mimicking the shape of that frame a little bit, and that's all. I'm going to leave it and then move on to step 5, which is to add stamping around your page. So I have pulled out that same cobalt ink, and I have a stamp that is kind of a plant, a floral flourish or some other thing. I don't know. It's supposed to be a distressed flourish, I think, or fleur-de-lis. I'm using it as a plant, and I'm stamping it in that cobalt ink down along the bottom. I'm going to go 3 or 4 times along the bottom here. I'm going to stamp it one time in the upper left-hand corner, but upside down. I'm going to stamp it along that bubble side. I just was kind of getting this texture. It's just texture at this point, just to kind of create more texture. So number 6 is to make marks with a straight edge. So I've got this used up Amazon gift card, and I've got some white acrylic paint, and I'm going to just put a little bit on my work surface, dab that gift card edge through it, and try to make some lines. Again, not a technique that I feel I have mastered. Now, when you are using non-traditional mark making tools, can you master the technique? I don't know. But I was able to get some white lines coming down from the top in a rather haphazard, not exactly parallel form or way, and that was okay. That's kind of what I was looking for, and I feel like it adds to the overall finished page. So the next step is to add a face as your focal image. So I went through my magazine stash, and the one on top was a National Geographic, and look at these otters. It's a mama otter carrying her baby otter, because that's what they do. Now, in real life, otters are mean. Oh, they are mean. Oh my gosh, I read in the news last week about a couple of friends, a handful of friends who were floating down a river and were attacked by an otter. I know, they are mean, but they're cute. Now, in an attempt to keep this magazine page from wrinkling, I put the glue on the back of the otters. They still wrinkled a little bit, but that's okay. Now, I had this plan to cut the edge off, and then I thought, well, why not just tear it? The glue made it soft enough. I could just tear it against the page, the edge of the page, because the paper is a little bit thicker than just a traditional mixed media paper. And I was fine with the rough edge, but I wasn't fine with all of that white showing. So I cleaned it up with my fingers a little bit, and I brought out that pip pen again. And I'm going to go over the edge of that with the pip pen. And I'm just going to run it along the actual raw edge. And then I'm going to take it and run it along the edge of the bodies of the otters and kind of smear it around with my fingers, because this India ink is manipulatable or smearable or whatever you want to call it until it is dry. And then it's permanent. So here's my focal image that is faces, and step 8 is to include doodles or Zentangles somewhere. Also, not one of my best skills, but I did have a plan. So I have this white acrylic paint pen I pulled out of my stash, and I'm just going to draw some less than perfectly spaced, perfectly sized sections and fill it in with this acrylic paint pen. Now, I did need to pull out another wipe and clean off the nib a little bit, because I was picking up a little bit of that India ink. So there are some places where I think that either the layers of India ink weren't quite dry, or I don't know. But I'm just going around the whole edge of this frame, and you can see that I'm not making each section the same shape. I'm not making them the same size. I'm not even making them the same space apart. So I feel like that adds to the Zentangle-ish look of the page. So of the words for inspiration, I guess I got move in there because the baby otter is swimming on the mama otter. I got teal in there, kind of sort of with that teal background. But that's kind of all. And to be honest, I wasn't really thinking too much about the words for inspiration. I was thinking more about the focal image in the frame. So I've pulled out a white gel pen here. I'm going to attempt to sign this, but my pen is having a hard time writing. The gel pens, they don't write on every surface. They don't write on every surface, and it's having a hard time keeping the ink coming out on top of that matte medium. So I just put that away and reached into my drawer and grabbed a Zig pen, and I just wrote my name and put the date down in the bottom right-hand corner of that, and that works. I just kind of wrote over, and it's not super prominent. You can't really see it. I just wrote over the part I was writing with that white pen, and it works. And that's it. That's my whole page. No quote, no funny, sarcastic comment, nothing. Just the otters. I am going to adhere my recipe card to the back of my page so that I can remember what prompted this page. And I'm going to do that with this Yoo-Hoo glue stick, because why not? It was there, and it was a little cleaner than the matte medium. But I'm just going to put this down, and I'm flipping my page over to make sure I don't put it on the side where there's going to be holes punched in it, because I do that about every third page, right? Well, let's be honest, every other page. I'm going to go ahead and smooth that down. I'm going to flip my page over and punch holes in it so I can put it into my binder. And then this page is done. Now, I will be the first to admit this is not a time, did not take me a lot of time. It was just a fun page, and it was just nice to get back into my craft room and get moving on things again. I know I'm like near the middle of August and I'm way behind, but we're going to zoom in a little bit so you can see those otters. And we're going to remember that they look cute, but they are in fact wild animals, so leave them be. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I have a couple other videos here I think you would like. I also have a subscribe button. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you did. Leave me a comment down below, give me a thumbs up, and have a really fabulous day.